Recording. All right, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the PropTech Genius Show. And today's genius is Aaron Short. Tusky. No, kidding. Aaron Short is in the house. We were just laughing about names earlier before the show started. So, hey, Aaron.
Hey.
Welcome to the show, man. So this is a show by the U.S. PropTech Council where I interview people who are in the PropTech industry, and we just kind of talk about their journeys and whatever the hell I want to talk about, because that's kind of how this show rolls. So anyway, but I don't need to introduce you, Aaron. You can do that to yourself. So have at it. Tell people what you do, kind of how you got here, the company you're running. Let's just start there. How's that?
Okay. Yeah, my name is Aaron Short, and I'm the CEO and founder of Beeline. So we are an AI-powered building automation platform. And my journey started, I was working in the green building industry as well as an urban planner within New York and Toronto. And I kind of got exposed to a lot of collecting data pretty manually as a sustainability consultant. We would do lobby blitzes where we give out coffee and donuts and ask people how they got there and how they got back. And then we would give a report and we give it to, the US Green Building Council or the Canada Green Building Council. And that was the transportation demand management thing that happened one day a year. And I was like, wow, there's got to be an easier way to do this, that might actually generate some like accurate results. And it was usually done like in the summer when people could bike and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, like as you do, you want to have the best results possible to get the highest score for your clients and all that stuff. So anyway, I was working as a green building consultant, but I got pulled into a research project at the University of Toronto with a PhD student. And what they were doing is they were designing, at the time was for the Pan Am Village, because they were hosting the Pan Am Games. This later became Sidewalk Labs. It was a precursor to Sidewalk Labs. So what they were doing is they were looking at smartphones, and they're using smartphones to collect how people were moving, and then they were going to design the district based off of data rather than, every 5 years they would ask people how they thought they moved for one day, and then that's how they would design the transportation systems. I know.
It's great.
Crazy the data. You're looking at it, you're like, this is how our cities are designed. This is
I know, right?
crazy. I know.
The transportation study used to be somebody would sit on a corner and count, right?
Yeah.
That's how they used to be done.
I know, like just a decade ago, like not even.
I know.
It's crazy. So so we were very much focused on kind of doing transportation demand management work and automating that work for people within the commercial building industry. That's how the Beeline originally started. And then the pandemic happened and people weren't moving. And so what we did is we ended up, the government of Canada put out a call for innovators to actually help bring people back into the office. And so we retrofitted the technology to then get into being kind of more of a future of work platform, helping people, get in safely, but also doing contact tracing. So contact tracing. And so that's why we created an interior positioning system. And so this was getting very, very highly accurate data on how people were using spaces and getting spatial intelligence to help, bring people back safely. At the same time, we started realizing that we could automate a lot of controls with this as well, because we found out people are kind of stupid. They forget their keys. They don't turn off the lights. They don't turn down the thermostat. And so we kind of started seeing all this from our data, and we're like, okay, why don't we just start automating this? So instead of like asking people to do this, we'll just be like, hey, we think you're stupid. And, and we're just going to do it for you. It's kind of like, when you go bowling and you put this, the sides up, like at the kiddie parties.
Exactly.
This is what we do for people. It's like everybody can be a really good sustainability all-star.
Yeah.
If you
would have totally ruined the TV show Monk. Do you remember the TV show Monk? The guy that was super OCD. Oh, it was a great show. This guy was the best detective ever because he was super OCD. So he would go back and check his lights and go back and wipe the doorknobs and go back and he was like super OCD, and then had couldn't touch certain things. And that was that was his character on the show, but he was like super detail oriented. So he made himself a great detective over time. But yeah, that was the TV show Monk. So you would have totally ruined his life because like he would have like, not
He
had
wouldn't
to.
have had a superpower.
Yeah,
We
you wouldn't have to
superpower.
go back and check the light switches 5 times, right? Before he left the
No, no. We just have a single pane of glass where they see all that stuff.
Yeah, I know,
It's
right?
like, oh, there it is. And then now everybody's as smart as Monk, and Monk's got to go get a new job as an AI programmer or something like that, because we're like, well, there's better things for you to be
Good for
doing,
you.
Monk. You could do a lot of things.
Yeah.
How about we just apply that to other things, So, yeah. So yeah, so that's kind of what we do at Beeline. And that's kind of been the journey is really, there's been these like once in a lifetime events and
Yeah.
it kind of evolved out of what was kind of a student project into something that like, you go out and you test it in the market, and you see what the market wants because as a student, you're kind of young and naive and you think that, oh yeah, this is gonna work. And then you realize, yeah, it doesn't really work that way. So yeah, and then really what we did is, I think a lot of people talk about sustainability, but people do things when it's easier, right? And when it's good design and when it makes, when they can do things leaner and more efficient. And really that's what we started doing. So this really kind of started with very, like objectives of, just being a very privacy first platform, helping to get, data that would help build smarter buildings and help get sustainability certifications. And it's really kind of evolved. Like, I just feel so lucky that, I get to be be a part of the AI revolution where AI just allows you to do so many things and just makes everybody just so much more efficient, So
It's super fun,
it
especially
is very fun.
you can design something that's seamless that works with people, right? So that they're not having like that's where a lot of people don't get is like when you're introducing prop tech, it's got to be super easy for somebody to adopt because if it doesn't, if you're trying to change the way they live and to change the way they do things and it's not easy, forget it. It's not happening, man. I mean, I don't care how cool it is or how much how green it is. If it's not seamless to the way humans work or live, forget it. They're not going to do it. I mean, no matter how good it is or how many, whales you're saving or how many trees you're saving, they don't care. Like, don't F with their day, man. Don't F with their day.
It's like, we're kind of all about that kind of like 1% change where you do slowly incremental change. And, and then people just start getting, used to it. Like, when everybody was really worried about facial recognition, and then using their phones as their credit cards. And they're like, oh, I'm never going to use that feature. And now people are like, do I have to know my wallet?
I know, right?
It's much faster, it's more secure. Right. And then now they're kind of, okay, I like using facial recognition because I know that no one else is going to be able to, steal my credit card information. Right. So it's just, you got to meet people where they're at. And build it in an intuitive way that makes their life easier. And then you'll start realizing that you're solving problems that they didn't know they had. And then, I think that's how you really find product market fit.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I mean, once they see what you can show them and then they're like, oh yeah, well, we knew this was a pain in the butt, but we just didn't realize how bad it was, or we just got used to putting up with it. Right. And then you just go, but there is the greener pastures. Trust me, if you would just embrace this new way of working, right? For sure. No, I feel you. I mean, we go to the same things, right? We're a data aggregator and people in real estate aren't using all the data that they should be using because it is a pain in the butt to maintain and a pain in the butt to collect.
It's in like 28 different systems.
And
oh
all
my
that
gosh. And you're just like, how do we make
I
this
know.
easy?
So that's our problem that we're solving is just combining all that data and making it really easy to kind of and then kind of use it. But yeah, no, I feel you. I mean, it's the same thing. It's like, but to that point, you have to work the way they work. I mean, you have to be seamless with kind of what they're doing every day. Maybe you might ask them to change a little bit, like, hey, take a picture of what you just did. Like, That simple thing. Just take a picture. And then we'll get the data from that, right? You know, anybody can take a picture. They're probably taking 1,000 selfies anyway. So like it's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know, I feel you. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So when you were back in the day, when you were in in New York and Toronto doing these studies, was there any interesting insights from even way back then, from, you know, just having that interaction with people and actually observing, you know, in an environment? Did you feel like you're a little zoo researcher looking at the animals in the zoo? Like,
Yeah, you did. And you really had to be like, hey, hey, and you're like stand by the entrances, like, hey, you know, and I would just put a door counter over the door. And then now we get 99% accuracy with that. You know, there's this stuff where you're like, wow, that's how it used to happen. Like a decade ago, like,
I know.
whoa, you know,
Whoa,
it's
I
it's
know.
it's crazy.
It is great.
But yeah, that's yeah. Anyway, it's been a really, really cool decade, obviously for technology advancement and such, and
Yeah.
just feel very fortunate to
Yeah.
be in a position where kind of got to grow with that.
Yeah.
Because I know people who, you know, had to stay in jobs that were more analog
Yeah.
and consulting and such, and then you know, just being able to apply technology to problems from previous work experiences, you know, it's just it's a
For
great
sure.
way to innovate, right? I think it's kind of one of the best ways to innovate.
Yeah. So what do you think is coming up next for kind of what you're seeing on your roadmap or other things that you want to do next in your evolution of your company?
So right now, so we actually just launched our AI assistant.
Cool.
So generative AI is like, oh my gosh, just wow. I think
Mhm.
it's bigger than the internet. Like it's just pretty undeniable how amazing LLMs are. And so what we are doing now, and you know, we were collecting all the data previously, but it was only like 5 administrators who could really see it. So now with LLMs, what we can do is we can actually reduce onboarding. So what we do is we
Yeah.
take all the documents that management have and we give it to staff. So they have a desktop application as well as a mobile application. And so all the things that they will need, they can ask the AI
Yeah.
chatbot and it will pull it up for them. This also works for guests and tenants.
Yeah.
And then also management. So every building has its own nuances and specific knowledge that it needs to have.
Right.
And you're dealing with, like, say we work with hotels, right? So one of our clients is a hotel for a sports team. You know, they all have guests come up and be like, hey, do you know when my room's ready? And what they can do with our platform is, because all the housekeepers are using our app to get in and out the doors, and our sensors are picking up kind of, you know, how the space is being used, they can see like, hey, Beeline, what is, you know, when is the next room coming available? And they can see that the housekeepers are taking about on average 25 minutes, you know, to clean per
Right.
room. And, you know, room 1016 will come available in 10 minutes without having to call the housekeeper to disrupt them from
Right.
work, right?
Right.
And then they're like, hey, your room will be available there. Enhances guest experience, really makes the staff look very good,
Yeah.
right? All by pulling data from kind of the existing systems, right? And
Yeah.
so, you know, this also works with, you know, say people who are in security in industry and either work night shifts. A lot of these, there's very high churn. People will usually take those jobs for, you know,
Mhm.
5 6 months until they find another job. So onboarding and keeping them updated is tough, but when they have this tool and, you know, it's the middle of the night and they can't call anybody, they can just ask and the managers can upload all the data that they will need, and then they'll be able to know all the answers to the questions, so they don't have to disrupt anybody and they just get better at their job. And then you're reducing onboarding, you know, and reducing costs for you know, our clients. So really, I think generative AI we are just at the tip of the iceberg right now.
Yes.
And I think, you know, we've had this data, but we haven't been able to access it as easily and as effectively as we
Right.
can now with Gen AI. And that's what I think is really coming down the pipe, you know?
Yeah. And the cool thing with prop tech companies is we will just have a ton of proprietary data that's not out anywhere. Because there
Yeah.
is no data on the inside of buildings that anybody has, right? And I mean, so that's what we're building. Like we're creating these digital data twins, right? And so that, or even the data that you have for your customers, like nobody has that data except for the customer themselves. So pairing an LLM to that is good, super powerful, right? Now you're really, really helping your customers in really innovative ways because they can interact with their data just in an easier thing. Are you using Llama, or which one did you pick? Gemini? Which one did you pick? Chat? Who'd you pick?
So we use OpenAPI.
You're using OPA. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. But then we do a variety of things with it to make it
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel you.
our own.
It's really coming really, really cool. I'm staying at as a full disclosure, everybody, because that's how I roll. I'm staying at a Marriott because my soccer tournament weekend with my kid. Guess who did the room service delivery here at the Marriott in San Antonio? A robot did it. They,
Whoa.
yeah, it's called Marriott Relay. And it wasn't for us, we didn't worry, but our neighbor, I was walking up to our room and there was he was pulling out his food out of a robot that brought his food to him. It's really trippy. But yeah, and they knew exactly which room to go to, and it sat there and knocked on the door. The little robot knocked on the door and said, and they came, and then the guest came out. He goes, "Oh, this is so cool!" And he just reached into the lid. He reached into the lid and got his food, and then they like, "Kids, come here, let's see this. We have a robot delivering our food." It was pretty cool. It was really super cool. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, and this, I'm so proud because at my university, I graduated from Purdue, and my
Cool.
daughter goes to school there. And so during the pandemic, they used robots to deliver food because they didn't want to spread this. So they're called Starbies. And they would take food from restaurants anywhere on campus and deliver it to the dorms. It could go up elevators. It could know where the rooms were located. It was delivering food to everybody. My daughter was like, yeah. And every once in a while, a Starbie would get knocked over. So the students would go pick it up, help it because it goes on the roads. It's driving on the roads all around campus to deliver food. They're called Starbies. It's awesome.
That's
It's-
amazing.
I
Did they use
know. It's
drones
just
at all? Was it drones or they used
no,
like,
it's like a little autonomous rover thing that would
whoa.
yeah. And so at Purdue they have them there. And then I saw some in Austin. They just, they were displaying them at South by Southwest. I'm like, oh, Purdue's had that for years, man. This is old news.
Yeah.
But it was really trippy to see that when I was walking down the hall to my room in the Marriott that they had an autonomous robot doing food delivery. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
It's
Yeah.
kind of cool. Like this with the pandemic, that is just a use case that we never really needed. And then with the
Yeah.
pandemic, it kind of advanced
Yes.
technology documentation adaptation by like 10 years minimum.
Oh, I know.
Like
I
it
still
really,
I still want the Jetsons made, man. I'm telling you. And the little elevator thing that puts clothes on you when you're like getting you out of bed and you just walk down the moving walkway and it does all this stuff and then you're ready to go like that. That's what I want in the morning, especially for my kids, because the morning rodeo is never fun. And I would just love to have that, like get him out of bed, get him on his way, because he's not a morning kind of kid. And so, come on, let's go. Get it up, get moving, all that other stuff. I'd really love to have a robot doing that for me.
yeah.
Eventually, maybe. And the flying cars. And then we'd have to have flying cars too. So then the whole flying cars are next, I think. There's got to be a flying car at some point.
Yeah,
But,
totally. I want one of those, the Back to the Future, the boards, skateboards.
yeah.
Those ones that's what I'm still waiting for,
You waiting for that?
What? I think
yeah.
they do kind of exist right now, but they're
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
kind of not.
I
Yeah,
want just different modes of transportation depending. Well, I really want the Star Trek teleporter because that would be just super awesome if we could just I'm going to be in Miami tomorrow in 2 seconds. Can I go to Miami in
totally.
2 seconds? That's
Yeah.
what I would love to do. I mean, the airline industry obviously would die, but but yeah, I love that. Okay, if not, I want a jetpack. Like, can I have a jetpack?
Yeah.
Like they could just take me, to like short little distances and just, fly around like Iron Man. That's
Or Aladdin, you know, like the magic carpet, if we all
oh,
had.
magic carpet, of course. Why can't we
Yeah,
have magic carpet? Like,
you
I just
know,
get to where I need to get to, and I want it to be driven for me or flied for, and like, I just don't want to, like, I have too much to do, so I don't actually want to pilot anything or drive anything.
no,
I just want to be taken there.
yeah, yeah,
Yes, so we're getting there. We're getting
yeah, we'll
there
get there, you know,
one of these days. One of
doing
these.
buildings now, vehicles
Yeah,
later, you know.
exactly. Yeah. So, all right. See, I told you I squirrel. I just like go off on
I like it, it's
tangents.
good.
It's like crazy. But I did want to talk to you because you're in the smart building kind of category. And
Yeah,
at the council, we are starting this whole initiative because I'm a old real estate developer, y'all. I'm thinking 7, 10 years ahead. That's just how my brain works. I'm a real estate developer. I've been doing this for a long time. I can't turn it off. It just doesn't stop, right? So we have this, we're building out this whole thing around smart buildings in the council. So we have these specialty forums in the council. But what I really want to do is make the connection between, oh yeah, we have smart buildings and that's great, but we have super dumb cities. Like, I mean, oh my gosh, these cities need to get with the ball game. So are you thinking past like, okay, how do we, yes, we're building out these really super smart buildings, but how do we connect them to the cities? Have you had any conversations with anybody around that whole concept?
well, yeah, like so in a way, right? So what we do with this is, what we can do is, you know, obviously within the building industry, you'll build one building and you'll get people in it, and then you'll build the second building and the third building, and then there's different parking requirements for this, right? And so depends on the jurisdiction, but usually people, you know, sometimes it's like two parking spaces for every occupant, or you know, whatever, depending.
Or
So
no parking requirements, they just
or
do
no
it.
parking requirements because of this. So really what we're realizing is we're helping our clients with, okay, you're gonna build one building, we're gonna look at how people actually get to and from that building, right?
Mm.
And then you're gonna build the next building, and we can say, hey, based off the data that we saw from this building, we can, you know, use AI and look at trends that potentially this would happen as well. Every building is kind of different, but when they're in a very close proximity and location, you can kind of get a general
Yeah.
sense of how people are using it because they're accessing the same amounts of transit and other things. So this is kind of a way, and then we can use that data to then not only just optimize parking requirements so that they, you know, don't have to spend, I don't know what it is, $100,000 per space or whatnot, if it's, you know, above ground or below ground parking, and then optimizing transit and other mode shares for that as well. So then helping the city design transit, so then they're actually just maximizing tax dollars, but using data from smart buildings in order to build smart cities.
Yeah.
You know, it's really kind of how we've been approaching it right now. Because cities are pretty broke, you know, like they don't have a whole lot of money.
No.
And they're not, you know, they're very risk adverse, but when they start seeing the insights and it just starts technology adoption, that 1% chance they start seeing, they're like, this just makes sense.
Yeah. And I think it's, so you have to start somewhere, and obviously smart buildings and any sort of data around that is super useful data. I mean, even like if you do Placer AI data and there's other device, you know, people counting devices and traffic patterns within certain areas. There's a lot of technology around that too. I just think if the cities would be more willing to, because all their codes are outdated. I think the last code update was like, what, 5 years ago or something like that. And some of them still have parking requirements, and some of them are living on outdated code, and where there's, you know, I think it's the whole thing around parking, this whole, you know, we have to have these big lots and the garages, and it kills your downtown vibe because the first floor is parking garage and it looks gross. And so when you're walking on the street, you just see parking garages. You don't get to see the buildings above it because, you know, you have this parking requirement, right? So it's like killing the aesthetic of some of the stuff downtown or in the downtown corridors. But yeah, I think, and people are starting to see that and they go, yeah, that's gross. I don't want to see that. That's disgusting.
Totally.
And we just
And
made
it's so
that
expensive to build underground parking, you know,
Yeah.
it's
exactly.
so.
And then realizing, how can we do this whole thing around transporting people to buildings? This whole concept of, is there a better way? how, you were a city planner at one point, right? So
Mhm.
do we, I mean, I'm an total advocate of taking metros and all, like trains and buses and all these different things. And if there's a way to do that I do, on a routine basis, I take the bus right into downtown or whatever it might be. It just to kind of on this whole theory around smart cities and how can we move people to where they need to go in a really efficient way and interact with where they need to be, right? Which is usually going to a building, that kind of stuff. So it's really kind of interesting that I think PropTech will have a big play in that whole arena on this whole
I think
smart
so
city
too.
movement. I mean, we're half the problem. So
Yeah.
we have most of the data. I mean, it's buildings and transportation pretty much, and then, city services and things like that. But a lot of it's really just buildings, and how do we make those connect better and how do we do smarter things around the buildings that are in the cities, right? So,
Just finding ways, because a lot of the building systems, they're made to not interact with each other because they're
oh yeah,
competing. And so you now have new platforms like us that are coming in and kind of like bridging these gaps. And I think that just from an industry perspective as well, is like, okay, guys, united we stand, divided we fall. We can, we can do a lot more if we play nice with each other. And then it just is a better experience for, all of the customers and, the cities as well, right?
yeah. I mean, the initial prop tech, that's how it was built. It wasn't made to integrate, and now they're really feeling the pain of that. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
yeah. They even like from 3 years ago, like prop tech that was built that wasn't integratable, right? There's been this huge shift of the last 5 years because that's kind of when I started my company 5 years ago, and it was very much like this. Like, no,
Yeah.
you're a competitor, no, and everybody is like, and now to the whole point, it's like, no, we'll integrate with you. We'll just API. It'll be great. We'll partner and do whatever. And
Yeah.
it's kind of flipped on its head a little bit,
And then you
especially.
make their APIs better a lot of the time. You're
Yeah,
like, hey, this is like, here
exactly.
you go, here you
Exactly.
go. And then I think they really realize that feedback loop of like, oh, if we let smart people look at our APIs, we get better,
Exactly.
better products.
You get a better
Oh,
product and the customer's happier and they don't care that you're using
yeah,
another product or embedding another software in your software. They don't give a crap. They just want their
yeah.
stuff done. I know. I was an owner. It's
But
like,
I
I
think
just want
we
it to
had to go
work.
through it, and now we realize like, okay, partnership is the best form of leadership.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I
It
mean,
really is.
but yeah, and the whole, I mean, the big piece around integrations, I mean, it's huge, right? Well, I'm a data aggregator. My CTO really is a chief integration officer. That's what he is. Poor guy. I'm just like, he's like, I tell him, because he goes, Amy, I am not a wizard. I'm like, yes, you are. Don't downplay yourself. Yes, you are. He's like, but I can't just make it happen. I'm not Mary Poppins, man. I'm like, okay, but you can do it, Steve. I believe in you. I'll
Yeah.
be like, I gotta integrate with somebody else. He's like, damn it. They're like, we have to integrate. I'm sorry, we need their data, but yes, yeah, poor guy.
Yeah,
Good thing we're good friends.
yeah, really.
Yeah, yeah, no, I know. I feel you for sure. So we are doing hotels. What kind of other asset classes y'all working on?
Commercial, industrial,
Okay,
multifamily, and
okay.
then hospitality extended stay. And then we've also just been dabbling now getting into arenas and stadiums too,
Oh, yeah.
which is super
Yeah.
fun. Sports teams are
Yeah, those
fun.
are crazy town. Are you working with, so I know on the connectivity piece, like this whole Verizon is kicking butt on their arenas and stadiums as far as the connectivity. They have this was it I don't know my things very well, but there's like some sort of 5G experience that they're doing just for the stadiums that Verizon's kind of putting together and apparently are killing it as far as
Oh,
that goes. So yeah.
that's okay. I don't know much about that. We've been mainly focusing on kind of helping them with understanding occupancy and then people using
Okay. All
getting there.
right.
Because like
Yeah.
stadiums have crazy, like you're looking at putting in about like, you know, 45,000 to 100,000 people into a stadium and a finish going
I
tough.
know, right? And
Right,
they
like
all want
there's
their
no
stuff
house, there's no
there.
commercial building that does that. That's like,
Yeah.
and so that what they want to do is really help kind of like optimize that and look at how people are using the space and be like, oh, we should put an extra beer cart here so then we can increase
Yes,
revenue per head for this and this,
exactly.
right? And so really it's just helping them get data from, staff and
Yeah.
visitors, and then optimizing the experience that those guests are having. So that's kind of how we've been kind of working with them.
Yeah.
But this Verizon stuff, I'd love to learn more about it. But this
Yeah.
is kind of what the problem that we've been helping them solve, and then it also just helps them make more money.
Yeah, for sure. They're building out a whole entire product just for stadiums, because you have all those devices at once, the load, it can't handle it, right?
So,
And
yeah.
so they build out this new product just for the arenas and stadiums. It's really super cool. And that's why, so when you go to some of the stadiums and they have this Verizon thing that you can hook up into, yeah, that's kind of what they're doing. So yeah.
Cool. I gotta look at this product. I didn't know about this. This is
Yeah,
great.
well, see, you come on my show and you learn stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's great. Everybody should watch this show. It's the best.
It is the best.
It is the best. No, it's
Telling you.
good. I love it.
Okay, very cool. So we have our robot housekeeping showing up at the
Oh,
hotel.
really? Okay.
Yeah, my kid's
Well, if
running.
you have to go, that's fine. I
No,
understand.
I'm
The
just
robot
kidding.
calls.
The robot's calling. No, we're good. It's awesome. No, I mean, yeah, it's really interesting. And then that's the other thing that I think that as we talking about smart buildings, it's really, it's a digital infrastructure issue too. Like a lot of the digital infrastructure at a lot of these buildings, okay, it sucks, man. I mean, I don't know when they installed their stuff, or even some of them don't even have managed Wi-Fi, right? I mean, they're expecting people just to front the bill for all the stuff they want to do. And so you're fighting this from a real estate perspective too, especially in multifamily. I don't know if you've encountered, unless you're just doing class A and they already have managed Wi-Fi, or you're doing student housing, go to any other class B, class C, multifamily property, they don't have managed Wi-Fi.
No.
They have no way to do any sort of IoT system data,
No.
anything,
That's
because
what we do, because a lot of our stuff, we have a secure encrypted Bluetooth network, so they don't have to have Wi-Fi.
yeah,
And so we can kind of upgrade these systems, give it to them without them even having it. Because there is a lot of issues when you do have a lot of devices connecting to Wi-Fi, as you've seen if you've been to, sports games or music festivals or
yeah,
whatever, right? And so, yeah, and then you have to host that infrastructure. So this is just kind of a different way of doing it. And
Yep.
then ours, we chose to go the battery operated route. So you change them every 5 years.
oh
And
boy,
and then if there ever is a power outage, like you still know where people are in the building, if there's an emergency or whatnot.
yeah,
So it's kind of a low lift, and you can have the property manager just do it. Like, oh yeah, you go change the batteries, and the gateway shows them like, hey, this is running out of battery, or this isn't working, and they can just switch it, and then it gives them the space analytics. But the big thing that we found was, yeah, that, in an emergency, if the power goes out, like they really need to know where people are,
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
why we kind of went the battery operated Bluetooth route.
Yeah. Does it work during like a fire response too? Can it help the first responders know where people
Yeah,
are?
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. It doesn't like short out or do any weirdo things because there's heat.
No, like the ones that would be damaged would
Mhm.
probably short out, and you could see which ones, but then you could see the ones that were active. They
Yeah.
would be, yeah.
Uh,
But they would work until they, got engulfed in flames or something.
yeah, they burn up. They're not working.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way to know. We know there's fire there because our IoT device.
Yeah. Well, all the devices aren't working, so yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah, there's a fire in there.
Yeah, but the thing is, they do have, it's about 60 meters, so the distance, so even if a couple go out, you can still see where people
Oh,
are.
that's good.
That's adjacent.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think that's another thing around the smart city thing that's going to be really, really cool, is that they're using like our digital twins and then using occupancy sensors and using lots of different things. So in an emergency situation like that, they don't have to guess where people are. They know where they are, right? They don't have to guess what hazard materials are on site. They're going to know what's there. If they have to clear the block because of, we know what's in that building, right? So it's about getting smarter, especially in emergency response, because you have this data that you can use, that you can provide to those cities so they can do it. No one wants to have anybody die needlessly, right?
No.
Especially
No.
on a firefighter situation, right? They're walking in there, they know they're putting their life in danger to go save somebody, or property. But if you can give them data to do their job so they can live to fight another day, I mean, I think that's the best case scenario, right? And so, yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
it's awesome. Yeah, and I think you're gonna have more and more cities kind of pushing this. I mean, I'm working with the New York City and the Department of Buildings,
Mhm.
and they've got this whole new program out now, which is super cool. And where they will do, and I think I'm connecting them with the city of Atlanta to do kind of like do the same thing. We have the city of New York City Department of Buildings has an accelerator program for startups. It's
Whoa.
it is awesome. So if you can help which you can, by the way, you need to join. If they apply, you apply in September, and then if they like your stuff, you kind of pitch to them in November, and then you demo in March. But if you can help the city in any sort of way around permitting, first responder response, anything that the city needs to do in regards to all the buildings that are in that city, they want to talk to you. So it's really super. Jimmy Otto is really great. He's the chairman of the Department of Buildings, and we're working hopefully together on when we're at New York City Real Estate Tech Week. But we're also talking to other cities that are wanted to kind of roll out the kind of same kind of thing. So it's pretty groovy. And I like that
What's
program.
the name of the accelerator? I'll check it out.
It's a building tech lab. It's a
Building
building
Tech
tech
Lab?
lab. Yeah, I'll send you a link
Yeah,
afterwards.
that'd
But
be great.
yeah, building tech lab. So you got to apply by September 20th. So get in there and apply. We're
Yeah.
applying. So FYI, we're applying too. So yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate it, Amy. This is
Yeah. No, it's super cool. And the cool thing about that, I got in there. They had like a pre-call prior to the application date in September. There were 100 prop tech companies on that call. Just talking
wow.
to, yeah, it was super cool to see that many people there. I wanted to get off mic going, join the US Prop Tech Council. But I didn't. It's fine. But it's super cool to know that there were that many out there. But and I think prop tech is kind of coming into its own, but I'm so glad that, like New York City's kind of taking the lead on that. I mean, I live in Austin and they don't even have any. I'm in Austin, Texas, which is a very tech forward city, and they don't have anything like this, right? And I'm just like, okay, that's just silly. But if New York can show people how to do it, and this is the first year that they're doing it. So they have had building tech labs in different or like accelerator labs in different agencies in the city. This is the first time they're doing it with the Department of Buildings. So it's really cool. But yeah, I'll send you a link for it for sure. Yeah, the application is September 20th. And then
We will definitely apply. It sounds great.
yeah.
I love it when cities take leadership like that. That's just
Yes.
so, you
It,
know,
it is so awesome. And if they can use technology, and it was super unique because they were really vulnerable on that call going, hey, this is what our pain points are. We need to be able to do remote inspections. We need to be able to see certain things that we can't see. We have 1.1 million buildings that we need to do code enforcement on and plan review on, and we're not using tech the way we should be. I mean, they were just real honest and upfront. I was like, well, hallelujah. Okay. That's
I love
awesome.
it when people just don't have an ego. They're like, hey,
Yeah,
we
they
got these
were
pain points.
great
Can you
about
help
it.
us
And
do
they were
it?
like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we could ask them, hey, how would you use digital twins? How would you do this? Do you need help here? What do you need help with here? And all the startups are getting and asking questions. They were like, yeah, we could totally use that. Yes, please send us anything you got. Right. And it was like, okay. And the mayor kind of allocated out millions of dollars for them to kind of get more tech forward, which is, I'm like, okay, that's super
Love it.
cool. Yeah,
Love it.
that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. So
So
yeah,
cool. Oh, that makes me happy.
I
Uh,
know, right?
it's
It's
good.
like and if you get more cities to kind of embrace it, and that's gonna lead. I mean, if you had in a city telling a building owner you must use tech in order to get your permit done, can you imagine? Right? I mean, if you had like, hey, the fire department on their annual fire inspection say you must use an occupancy sensor or you're gonna fail and you're not gonna have your seat. I mean, you know what I'm saying? If you can have a stick like a city doing that, and yes, no building owner. Okay, look, I was a building owner for a long time, y'all. I know you're gonna hate my guts by saying this, but get with the program. Like seriously, you cannot
Yeah.
live in the dark ages anymore. Please embrace tech. It's gonna make your life so much better if you embrace tech. But yes, you know, a lot of those building owners associations are very stale and pale and male, no offense, but they are. And so, and they're very old,
Um,
very gray haired. They're very gray haired and they don't want to change. So,
yeah.
yes. Yeah, I know.
But they start seeing the value and you get that 1% change and then they're just like,
Yeah.
it's made my life easier. You know,
Yeah,
that's when,
for sure. They're leaving so much money on the table. They're
no,
actually like
but
throwing
you
it in the
can't go at
street.
them so hard. You gotta, you
Yeah.
know, like 1% change, how will we do, you know, just,
How we do this? How we
yeah.
do that? Yeah, I
People
know.
can't, occupancy
I
sensitive.
don't, you know, that doesn't work for me though. I'm like the person likes to rip the Band-Aid off.
Oh, totally.
I
I
kill the
totally,
800-pound gorilla. I'm like the like, let's go now. Right. And everybody
I'm with
hates my
you.
guts. I'm that
I'm
person.
with you, but I feel like just from my experience, we've done, you know, I feel like, you know, it's like when you go to the grocery store, you go there, you gotta get eggs, right? And then you
Yeah.
start looking around, you're like, actually, I need some milk, I need some flour, I need some kale, I need some,
Mhm.
you know, stuff for smoothie. And then they start realizing, and they leave and they have their whole cart full, but like, you can't just say like, oh, you need all these things. They have to kind of realize that they need them as they go along.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then slowly fill up the cart, you know? I always, I think crawl, walk, run is kind of what we've kind of seen best with our clients because you build that relationship of trust. A lot of people say they can do a lot of things, right?
Okay,
And
that's
then they get in there like, wow, you just sold me a Ferrari and it operates like a go-kart, you know? Whoa, right? So I think
true.
enough people have been burned in the prop tech space. You
Yeah,
know, they
okay.
kind of
I
like to
totally agree.
go a little crawl, walk, run, because like they've seen some lies, you know, come to
Right.
fruition, right?
And I had this conversation with another founder the other day, and I was talking about, so my thesis is that real estate companies need to hire more CIOs or people with technology inside the IT technology or technology knowledge inside the company, right? And that is going to lend itself to more technology being adopted because they have somebody in house that they can trust that's kind of vetting these, you know, software solutions or tech solutions or hardware solutions or whatever. And I and this founder and I were having this argument because he came from real estate like I did. And he's like, Amy, they're not going to do it. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, they're just not going to do it. You really need to get off your high horse on this one. And I'm like, well, how else are we going to get technology adopted if they don't know the first thing about tech? And then we're trying to sell them this. Like, if they don't have somebody on the inside, or he goes, well, they'll just outsource it. I go, yeah, but outsourcing it is really not going to help them either because that outsources, they're just looking at you need someone to take a holistic view of your entire tech stack that your company uses to get your job done day in and day out and like make it better, right? But it was so funny. We were cracking up, but that's still my thesis. I think more real estate companies need to hire
I think you
CIO.
see, like the big ones are, you know, the
Yeah,
RXRs,
the big ones
the
are, but I'm talking
Quadrillion.
about, you know, the folks that are at like 100 million, you know, maybe 100 to 500 million, where they're just not embracing it. That's like your mid-market. They're about to scale and grow and do really big, cool things,
Yeah.
right? And they need somebody like that, right? To make sure that they can, if they want to stay lean, they can, and they can use tech to stay lean, but they're not doing it. And so they end up with like 16 software solutions and 18 million logins for your poor property manager to do
Yeah.
her daily job. Like it sucks. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just me. I don't know. But we had this argument.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You
Yeah.
know,
Good. You
yeah.
sided with me. I win. Team Amy wins that argument. Oh, it's very cool. Well, this has been a fun conversation, man. Look at
Yeah,
that.
totally, Amy. I really
Our
appreciate
hours up.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. I just joined the Property Council. Love it. Such a great group of people.
Yeah. And we got
And
more and more stuff coming out. And we will be, you know, we'll be in New York with this will be pushed out next week. And we will have our hackathon happening as part of New York City Real Estate Tech Week. So you should come. It'll
yeah,
be there
cool.
right before CRETech. So we're part of New York
Okay,
City.
let's maybe also connect to QTech, but also maybe Blueprint.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
do
for
those
sure.
two.
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
that's super awesome. Yeah, we'll be at all of those. We'll be at all of those. But yeah, I'm super excited about our hackathon. It's kind of coming together and we're getting sponsors for it. And we have 6 challenges this year at our hackathon, which is gonna be super cool. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be super fun. I want to see all the ideas people come up with and how all the designs and prototypes that the dev teams come up with. I think it's gonna be super fun to see. Whether something comes out or not, but just getting all that interaction with the dev teams and the ideas and all the, the magic that happens when creative people to get together. I just love that. That's my jam, man. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
you can get a lot of, when you can get a lot of stuff done when you put a bunch of smart people in a room and
Oh yeah,
no
for
problem.
sure. For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so fun to
Especially when
watch.
you force like in a hackathon environment where you're forcing them to stay together till like midnight every night,
Yeah,
and then they're
yeah.
like, oh yeah, wait, we can do this. Oh yeah, wait, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's gonna be super fun for sure. That's awesome. Well, very
Cool.
cool. Well, good.
All right.
This was fun, man. All right. Oh, let me pretend to be a podcast host. If somebody would want to get a hold of you, how could they do that?
So via email,
Okay.
Aaron at b-line.io.
Okay.
Ready for this up? Also check out our website. Yeah, beeline.io. And then we're also on LinkedIn, Aaron Short, CEO and founder of Beeline. These are probably the best places to reach me. But yeah, that's yeah, happy to chat with anybody.
Exactly, for sure. Well, awesome. It's so great to have you in the council. This has been fun, been a fun conversation. It's been
Yeah,
great. Thanks for
absolutely.
coming on the show.
Can't wait to meet in person, Amy. This is gonna be great.
Yeah, I know. I know. It'd be great. All right,
Yeah.
we'll see you. Bye.
Okay, I'll see you in a few weeks.
See you in a few weeks.
All right. All right, cool.